they tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah, man, I'm talking about Willis, one of the realest to try. My family, SOE.
Have you ever kicked in the door with your 4.4?
No, never with a 4.4.
What have you kicked in the door with?
10.5 wide.
Have you ever kicked the door and the door didn't open? Like all the energy went into you instead of
the truth of the matter is when you go to kick in a door, they never open. And then you do the stupid thing and you step back like 4 steps and then think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw my shoulder into it.
The weaker point.
And then you throw your shoulder into it and the door doesn't open. And then the squad leader comes over and he's like, boop, opens the door.
Did you ever take a shotgun breaching class?
Shotgun, yes. Yeah.
Didn't you guys have
range 130?
Didn't you have the Tonga Trail or something? Isn't that a shotgun?
Yeah, they had a
Was it lame?
No, it wasn't lame. It was just, you run and shoot targets with the shotgun.
It looks so much cooler now. Like I follow some dudes on Instagram and some of these like breaching guys, and man, the shit they're doing now, it just looks so. And maybe it's because when I saw it, we were taking Polaroid pictures still, so like it's that time era, When we watch when we see a clip of a movie from like 1980, you're like, God, that looks so terrible. What are we watching? Kennedy's assassination or something? And you're like, oh shit, I was alive when that happened. It looks so horrible, but it didn't look horrible to us in real life.
No. Yeah.
But it looks horrible. Like when you look at 1970 furniture and shag carpet, you're like, that looks pretty terrible. Like there's a bunch of fucking semen in that rug right there, but when it was happening, it was just modern day. So like right now at, 2025, I mean, I know I'm 2 years ahead of you guys, but at 2025, when we look back at this in 50 years, or I'll probably look back at it in 100 years, and I'm going to go, man, that footage is really bad.
Maybe.
Or power's going out next year and we're not looking back at shit.
That's right. Or you're going to be sitting in this building with a big old TV that has a fire burning in it.
That's right, yeah.
It has a fire burning in it, and you're going to be like, really wish we had some power.
I love when they take the old, like, oval lens TVs, and they put fish aquariums in them and shit.
Or you'll be sitting, there'll be a bunch of little kids. There'll be a bunch of little kids, and you'll be sitting in the middle, and you'll be like, this used to have all the information in the world in it.
Yep.
Everything you need to know was in here.
Yep.
And then they will all worship the iPhone that doesn't work.
You remember when VHS tapes, right? And then we would record stuff onto VHS tapes and family movies and stuff. And then eventually in 5 years, you'd go look at them and they didn't look as good. And in 10 years, they'd kind of degrade. And then one of the tapes just wouldn't have, like part of it would be missing or something happened. So we start backing them up on DVDs or CDs then, right? CDs and then DVDs. And now everything's in the cloud. And if you're not aware, like cloud is code for somebody else's computer. That's what that means. So I have a 5-gallon bucket full of phones, right? I always keep because I'm dumb, I always keep my phone. And I'm like, I used to transfer everything and put it on SD cards and shit.
Right.
But now I'm like, oh, it's on the cloud. I can just pull it up in the cloud. But I actually went to use the cloud the other day, and it's pretty miserable because the cloud doesn't load all your shit. The cloud only loads like 10 pieces of your shit at a time. So I'm like, I know there's some pictures down here gear-wise that I need, and I'm scrolling, and I'm scrolling. Then I wait 5 minutes, and some more are there, and they're not there, so I got to scroll and wait for it to load. It's fucking terrible. So you're right. Like we have no copy of anything anymore.
Yeah, it's like when you take a picture. So you take a picture with your phone. I take a picture of Brandon. I'm like, oh, he's so cute over there. Let me get that. Boom. I take a picture, right? It's actually lost. It's gone forever, really, because you have so many pictures that you never really look at your pictures unless there's something specific. Unless
you're that dude. That motherfucker right there. I don't know how he does it. I think that when he leaves here, all he does is scroll through his cloud because he'll pull up some shit. He's like, yeah, 7 years ago on the 5th day of December, he'll pull okay, like maybe he's looking it up by date, but I'll say something and he's like, oh yeah, I have a picture of this, and he'll pull up all these. I'm like, how did you know where that was?
I'm just saying,
you're right.
The old days, you print those pictures and they would go in an album, and then at least every now and then you'd be like, oh, remember that?
I had
Except I did recently look at an album from the 90s.
I look at
Marine Corps album, and I was like, God, I was looking at it, I'm like, God damn, these fucking pictures are so terrible. They're just terrible.
I look at albums of people I don't know. Like, that's the big thing. Anytime you go to an antique store, they'll have like albums for sale of photos, and it's like, this is an 1800s photo album, or this is a early 1900s, and then they'll have like all the pictures when they bought the storage units or whatever. So they just, all the pictures went someplace, and finally somebody, these look old, these look older, these look younger, so they just kind of put them, and then they'll, if you're in a really good place, they'll have like old nudes, like old smut, and it's a trip, the evolution. Like, I'm sure they were doing crazy nasty shit when the photo came, when people had the ability to have their own camera, but those pictures, like, you don't ever see those anywhere. They're held in people's collections, or they've been destroyed, or somebody got them and his wife destroyed them, mom just whatever happened to them. But yeah, like the photo album thing. So what you really need to do is you need to find your own Dean Dupree and have Dean come live with you, because he can duplicate anything that you can imagine. Yeah. And he can just draw it out, like in pencil or pen or whatever. That dude's great. You saw the drawing he did of me and Amanda, and the drawing he did of the Davis with the dog, and just crazy skill. Like, to have a person like that. And there's people out there. There are most of I've run into most of them in county jail. There's always those dudes in county jail that will do artwork on your envelope home to your wife, or, you know, your girlfriend or whatever, like the craziest art. And it's because you have them. They just, I think there's a lot of them, but they're like closet artists because they have shit going on in their life, so you don't know that they're an artist. But in jail, there's nothing going on in their life, so everybody's an artist.
Everybody's an artist. Yep.
So,
yeah, nice.
It's on your mind. What episode is this?
Oh, are we 55? 53. No, we're 55 at least.
Pulling the Thread podcast, episode 53.
I mean, we do one of these every week. It's been.
Are you ready?
The year's almost over.
It's coming.
56.
Man, the music sounds so good through these headphones.
It does sound good. Yeah.
It's my favorite sound to listen to. Me.
But that's not you.
Right here it is.
Oh, okay, good.
This is me.
That's you.
My content's my favorite content. I don't have to scour the internet. I just go back and watch our stuff.
I'm glad you can do that.
Why?
I can't watch any of my content.
Why?
I just don't like it.
Do you want me to have them give you a copy where I cut all you out and you just listen to me?
I just can't. I don't like it.
What if it's me?
I mean, how about change the voice?
You change your voice?
Yeah.
You want
a little deeper, a little Barry White-ish?
You want to be a short blonde chick with big tits?
No, not short blonde chick. No.
You want to be a black fat guy?
That would be okay.
That's Barry White, right?
Yeah, Barry White.
Hey, baby. What happened to him?
He died.
Got him?
I don't know if we got him.
Yeah, we probably just got. They're gonna pull our whole video for that, probably.
Yeah, way to go. Bleep that out. Just beep that part. Just beep.
Alligators got him.
Everybody will know what you're talking about. You just got to beep, and then we won't be.
So, are you aware of the talk of the town?
Of this town?
Oh no, every town.
Oh no, not aware of any talk of town.
Are you aware that Big Mike and Barack Obama produced a movie? No. Not a gay porn movie either.
Well, I mean, it would be, but
correct.
No.
So they put it.
Is it a? Wait a minute. Is it a thriller? Is it a crime thriller where they're alone in their mansion up in Nantucket, and the manservant that they have in the house who makes all their pancakes discovers some horrible secret about them, and they have to take him out into the bay and drown him and kill him? Is it that crime thriller?
No, that one's probably coming though.
Right. I mean,
maybe that's why they made this one, so that the other one never got made. So as the government typically does, the evil doers, they always telegraph the punch, right? They always tell you that there's going to be a virus in 2019, and they tell you that the power is going out, and they tell you that in 2023, 24, there's going to be a virus that sweeps around the world much worse than COVID, and it mainly affects young children, right? So they have made this movie, and they are the head producers on the movie, I believe, about the power goes out. And it's about a couple different people, and you've got your prepper, and that's the evil guy, the evil white prepper. And then you got a black couple. Because
being prepared for disaster is an evil thing.
Yeah, and it's the end. It's called World Left Behind or something like that. Sandra Bullock, I think, is who's in it.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's a terrible movie.
Okay, have you watched it?
I have not watched it, but it's
There's
terrible.
a ton of Easter eggs in there. Like this ship washes ashore, and the ship is called the White Lion. And in history, the White Lion, I think, was supposed to be the last slave ship that came across. There's a bunch of stuff like that. A black couple, or a man with his 20-year-old daughter. They're laying on a mattress, held up in a house or whatever, and they're like, never trust white people. And I haven't seen the movie. I am simply repeating things I have heard. I've watched, I don't know, it keeps getting targeted to me, so I've watched 10 videos on it or so. But there's a scene where all of the Teslas in the area all drive back to the entry ports of these cities and block all the egress points to leave and get on the thoroughfares. And just the things that ensue. Power goes out, and then all of a sudden they start pulsing this horrible sound for, like, I don't know, I think it lasted like a week. And this kid's teeth start falling out from it. And there's a lot of undertones to it. But the big thing is the power is going to go out, right? They've been saying, prepare for a cold, dark winter, prepare for a cold, dark winter. Cold, dark winter's coming. And it's to the point now where
winter's almost over.
You have all your mainstream medias reading the 4 a.m. script in the morning, all saying the same thing. You haven't heard of this movie or seen it?
I have heard it. Once you mentioned Sandra Bullock, as a matter of fact, I just saw a review of it the other night, and they were talking about how shitty, how terrible, and how worthless the movie is. So,
but I wonder who's doing the review on it.
Somebody who's pretty smart. I mean, you know, when you have a federal government that tells you, a federal government on all levels. The who's those people that are making the camps all across the country? FEMA, and then the Red Cross, and then they all tell you. Mm-hmm. You go to their website. You know what they all tell you? Be prepared for a disaster. So if the guy who's the prepper is the evil guy, that's code for really society. That's code for go ahead and be lazy. Don't think about your family if the power goes out. Just think about the here and the right fucking now and how many coffees you can buy instead of, hey, worst case scenario, just let's say worst case scenario, the power goes out. What would be wrong with having a week's worth of stuff for your family so you don't have to go out into the wilds and be fucking executed by the mob? Why not have a week's worth of food? That's what the government tells you to have, is a week's worth of food, so why not?
You see in a lot of the prepper fiction books, especially the longer series, the people who are prepared, you have FEMA is actually the bad guy typically, right? The government kind of fractures. You have like an EMP or a Carrington event does go off and knock power out around the world. But it's typically within the United States, because that's the perspective that it's told from. In the United States, the powers that be take it upon themselves to actually amplify it and make it worse, right? So the first thing they want to do is they come around and they remove all ham radios, right? You're not allowed to have a radio rig, which we've seen even in the old war movies and stuff, right? The French Resistance and stuff. If you got caught with a radio, you were immediately, executed and such. So they take away your arms. They want to collect guns. They want to collect communications and any food and fuel, and you're supposed to turn that over to local level governments because they're going to co-opt the local level governments, and they're going to. And it's the same thing you see happen everywhere, right? The local government always never let a good crisis go to waste, right? We're going to punish the people that we don't like, the people that were at the town hall meetings speaking against us. We're going to take all your shit. Meanwhile, the local level government and their families are going to stay in the hotels where they're pushing the power through the generators and such to it.
There's the problem with some of those notions, right? We want to evilize the government. We want to make the government out to be this entity that has more power than it really does. So
I hope what you're about to say is correct. I hope it's the way it goes.
Well, we tend to give them more power than they really have. So, for example, I'm going to use FEMA as an example. FEMA is a great organization.
In theory.
FEMA is a great organization. If a localized tornado comes through your area, FEMA is a great organization for you to be able to get a check from them 10 years after the fact.
Hold on. But
as far as an evil organization, The issue is always people. So, for example, I'm going to use a Superdome. Superdome during Katrina was a FEMA-run facility. The National Guard troops at the Superdome were telling parents with children, do not go into the Superdome. We do not have control of what's going on in there. So your real problem is the fact that you have these government agencies that we believe somehow is going to help us, when the reality is, when you're talking about a major event, so let's say something that affects, I don't know, half of the United States, the government has no capability of doing anything about it. Yeah, they'll send some National Guard troops down there, which you may or may not even see because they're going to be so spread out. National Guard troops are going to be used to protect infrastructure and facilities of importance. So meaning the governor's house, the fucking, whatever oil refinery you have in town. They're not going to be out in the streets really doing anything on a major scale. Now, when you see National Guard troops, like in Boston after the bombing, that wasn't a major scale event. It was small. It was localized. And so it's easy to put troops there. When you think about right now, the White House has 20,000 National Guard troops protecting one of the smallest areas in Washington, D.C. It's just because it is so localized, they are able to do that. But if the National Guard had to protect Washington, D.C., there'd be no troops around the White House. Be, the fucking Secret Service and that it, because the area is too big that you create this management problem. And so when you take a town like Camden, right? You take a small town like this. If the United States went into a shit sandwich, if we had an EMP hit and everything turned off, the only National Guard troops that you would see would be your local National Guard troops. And chances are those National Guard troops would be on the move to major cities. The U.S. military, the United States government would be doing everything they can to push as many troops to real cities, not Camden, Tennessee. The problem we would have in Camden, Tennessee, or Waverly, Tennessee, is not from the National Guard. It would be from the self-appointed sheriff of the land, whoever decides to take control of that, of the lands. No different than, when the Civil War was going on and in the Deep South, they had sheriffs that hunted down Southerners that should have been fighting. You're going to have these groups of people you're going to have these really disenfranchised people who
your F troops
were turds before and are still turds, but they're going to have this level of power because all the real manpower will be moving to whatever is going on.
Well, you saw it happen during the lockdowns and COVID, right? You saw the crazy disheveled hair person with the mask that you could smell, like she's worn the mask for fucking 8 months. It literally has stains on the mask, and she'll beeline across the fucking store to yell at you because you're not wearing a mask. Right. That's who they're going to hit. They're going to give them yellow hard hats, and they're going to give them fucking rifles.
Good news. Good news in all those scenarios. Like, again, when you...
we're not going to be at the Walmart. There's not going to be anything in the Walmart. You're not going to encounter her there.
When you write a book, you have to
Sure.
create certain scenarios, right? And when you think about the idea of confiscating radios or confiscating guns, that doesn't go the way people think it goes. It just doesn't. You give blue hairs, if you give blue hairs guns and say, hey, here's a list of all the people in this town that have guns, you need to go confiscate guns. They'll get some guns.
They're going to get a lot of bullets.
But they're going to get fucking killed. And then that program will completely end. The sheriff, I guarantee you, if the order came down tomorrow to the sheriff here in Camden and they said, hey, you need to go confiscate all the DROS forms in your area, find out who has bought a gun in the last 2 years, and go confiscate those guns. It's a national emergency.
Now,
you have to do it. I guarantee you the sheriff is going to be like, fuck no, not doing it.
Well, our sheriff's going to say fuck no because it's not the right thing to do, right? We have a pretty good sheriff.
Oh, well, I'm just saying.
You guys have a good sheriff.
In general,
yeah.
Your law enforcement is going to say no fucking way. Now, even in California.
Now, the way that should work, right? When they go, hey, you need to pick up all these, you need to get all the dross forms and go visit all these people. In theory, he should have to go to the gun shop to get that data list, right?
Yes.
There should not the feds should not be able to just be like, here's your packet.
Except they have been cross-pollinating that for a long time.
They literally said under oath before Congress, they said, yeah, we can toggle that on and off.
Yeah, it's not one of those situations where like
we don't have a gun registry.
But it's not one of those situations where like the FBI, the FBI knows how many guns you have, right? There is going to be a certain amount. There's going to be some flavor in there that they are going to be able to identify, right? They're going to be like, oh, he bought this gun here at this time. He bought this gun. Now you may have 100 guns, and the FBI knows you have 10, right? The point of it all is when they go to do it, when they go to confiscate, they're going to confiscate in a manner where the assumption is you have 100 guns, right? It's just going to be like, this motherfucker's armed to the teeth. They might not know how many guns you have or whatever, but all they have to know is you have one. I'll give you an example. You have to register all your firearms when you live on post. You have to go to the provost. I don't know what they do anymore, but back in the day, you had to go to the provost marshal and you had to register your firearms with the provost marshal. And they give you a little card. They basically have a little card with your ID, your picture on it. It was kind of stupid because you had a military ID. But they give you a card with your picture on it, and then they would list what guns you have.
Like a shitty library card.
Yeah, it was really like a shitty library card. They would list what guns I may still have mine from back in the day. And so, again, I have been buying guns immediately since I turned 18. So I have these guns that I've purchased, and I'm like, fuck, I need to go register these guns. So I go to the provost marshal to register these guns. One is a 1919 belt fed. One is a Uzi. I
remember when you got that thing. Yeah. You had two. Weren't there two of those?
No, just one.
I remember shooting that at the indoor range.
Yeah. And then
what was her name? Rita.
And an M1 carbine, I think. Yeah, Rita. And so I go to register these guns. And the female corporal who's at the desk, she's like, first off, freaking out because I have these weird ass guns.
So you walked in with them?
Oh yeah, because you got to take them in. They got to verify the serial numbers, right? And so I take them in, and I'm like, I put the 1919. She freaks out about it a little bit, but she's like, okay. She puts it on the card, and when she does the 1919, I'm already on the back side of my card. There's no more room, and so I put the Uzi up there, and she's like, oh, we can't register this. This is illegal in California, blah, blah, blah. She's doing the whole.
And clearly knows nothing about it.
She's doing the whole, it's illegal. I'm like, no, it's not. I registered in the state of California. Here's the paperwork. It's legit. I've done my due diligence. And so she's like pushing it back at me. No. And then the provost marshal actually comes out. He was a major. And he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm just trying to register these guns, sir. I'm required to, blah, blah, blah. And he looks at my card. He looks at my card because she's like, there's no more room. Do we give him another card? He's like, you don't need to give him another card. And he looks at it. And he goes, oh, man. He's like looking at my guns. He's like, those are cool. He goes, you don't need to register guns anymore.
He's like, just right. And a shitload more.
He's like, you don't need to register guns anymore. And I'm like, but it's a base order, right? It's a base order that you have to follow. So you have to register guns. And he goes, no. Yes, it's a base order that you have to register your firearms because we have to know, as the provost marshal has to know, what type of response to send to your house if something happens. And he's like, I'm looking at your cards, so I'm sending everybody. It doesn't matter. If you add 10 more guns to this list, you're still getting the same response. You're getting everybody. So that's kind of I don't even know where I was going with that, except, you know,
So
that's me registering my firearms on base to a certain extent. Now, when things happened in the future, they still, even when they came to look at my stuff, they didn't know what guns I had. They were like,
okay,
what the fuck?
Now, didn't they come after you when my raid went down and they came after you? Isn't that what they came after you for not registering firearms and failure to follow a lawful order, right?
A failure to follow lawful order and failure to register what they considered an assault rifle.
Now, prior to that, you stood in that office and he said, I don't need to register all your guns. That's that's the question.
Yes. Yeah. Prior to that, he's like, you don't need to register these guns anymore.
Yep.
And so, again, unless it's one of those things where you're like, you're talking to the guy that is responsible for it, and that guy says, you're good to go. As a Marine, you know, especially a young Marine, I was a fucking corporal when I was doing that, Lance Corporal. As a Marine, you take everything that leadership says as gospel, right? So if they are on top mount and they say, hey, you don't have to wear boots anymore, you can wear fucking flip-flops, you assume automatically that wherever I go, I can wear flip-flops. Where the truth of the matter is, in those type of environments, I really should have been like, cool, sir, I'm glad I don't have to register those weapons anymore. Can you give me that in writing? Send me an email so if something ever happens. But you don't think about that when you're
it's never a problem until it's a problem.
It's never a problem until it's a problem.
Yeah.
But again,
so
if they are looking, they're always going to find something.
Along those lines, I was standing in the old shop over here when James was in there, when it was the TAC Response building, and they had an FFL out of there. They had a Title II manufacturing or whatever, their machine gun stuff. ATF was in there, and they had got new ATF reps or whatever.
Right.
And James said, okay, we will fill these out this way, but these are all filled out this way because the ATF rep that's been here for the last 3 years, whatever, 4 years, told us to do it this way. And he said, yep, I want you to do them this way. It is up to my interpretation as to how these are done. He's like, can you show me in writing where this is? You know, basically cover my ass. You know, can you show me in writing? And he's like, nope, it is up to me how you're going to do this. This is how you're going to do it.
Yeah, in those situations, even in those situations, especially when you're talking about guns and the ATF, the best thing to do ultimately is to be like, oh, okay, cool, Brandel, I understand that's what you want me to do. Awesome.
I need that in writing.
Send me an email just so I can remember what it is you want me to do. And if you do it personally enough, and not kind of in a
asshole way,
in a James Yeager, it doesn't matter. Even if James Yeager's being nice, it seems like he's telling you to fuck off. He'll be like, yeah, I can do that. And he'll send you that email. And then that alone is enough to cover your ass. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. I used to do that in the Marine Corps all the time where, somebody an officer or senior staff and CO would be like, we're going to do this, this, and this. And then I'd be like, cool. This is what I would send the email. I would send an email to them after the fact and be like, hey,
just to be clear,
we're going to do this, this, and this. And then they would be like, Roger. And I had a couple of operations where shit fell through, where they came to me and were like, you didn't do your fucking due diligence. You didn't do your shit. And I'd just be like, here's the email. Here's the due diligence that I did that you are saying I didn't do. And here's them rogering up to the fact that they were going to do it. And then that would be the end of it.
Yeah. It's the same.
You just have to cover your ass. Really.
Even in modern day, right? Hey, call me. Just message me what the fuck you want. If you have to call a motherfuckers because he doesn't want a record of what he wants to fucking tell you. Yeah. That's how it is, man. Speaking of ATF, we were at that same event. Joe Dirt came walking in the shop. Literally, if I remember right, he had like a fucking mullet and cut off short, like looked like Joe Dirt. And he's asking about buying something, and they're like, we can't sell you that. Like, you can't, whatever it was. They were trying to entrap him or test him or whatever. And they sent their guy in, and then 30 minutes later, here comes the ATF to pull all their books and audit all their shit. And I remember sitting in there and James was like, that dude's the ATF guy. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, that fucking retard right there, that's an ATF dude. And he goes, how do you know? He goes, you just know. And then we were at lunch hours later, right? We were at El Volarte, and they're all sitting over, all the ATF dudes are over here, and we were over here. I don't know if they even knew we were in there. And here comes Joe Dirt, sits down, and here comes another motherfucker that sat down that was like a undercover. And that happened several years apart. I saw that happen twice. It's just shitty, man. Silly shit.
Yeah, it's just silly shit.
It's why we can't go as 50 years old. I can't sit down in a fucking restaurant and order a margarita. They got to card me because some fucking asshole secret shopped them.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly why.
Yep.
I find it funny every time somebody asks me for my ID. I'm like, oh, you're so cute.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. I'll be right back.
Motherfucker.
We're back. Are we back? Are we live?
Back. All right. Present.
We got a present. Oh. Yeah. It was a birthday present before it was a Christmas present.
I like how my birthday present became half of your Christmas present.
It was easier this way.
Is it?
You motherfucker.
The box.
Well, I'll bet that's really loud on the...
Oh, hey.
What's that called? ATM, ass to mouth?
Didn't make it. What is it?
Something from Temu.
Oh, God. Look at that.
They came as a pair?
You can share them.
It was easier to get two than one.
What is this? I like how it has a little stocking with it. It comes with, was this lube?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Look at that. Those are nice toes.
Where'd you find these at?
Through a supplier in China.
Man,
Yeah,
they got big labias in China. Look at that little hole. What do you suppose? What is dripping out of this?
Oh, God. It's got to be good.
You use this?
It's pre-used.
I was actually going to use one of them, but that hole is way too small. So
It's pre-used. Look at that. That's a nice foot.
Smell this. Does it smell like his penis?
Nope. That is a nice foot.
Oh, they use different kind of stuff. You know when you walk into a dildo store and it has the dildo store smell? There's no smell to this.
Nice. You need to put the socks on and put them on display.
Is it on as a vajankle?
Yeah, that's a
I like how it has like the hole, the opening is like the size of a BB. So you can adjust it to your girth. Did you hear that? Listen.
At the bottom of that box, there's toenails, so you can paint.
Did it come through? Listen.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there is toenails. Look at that. This is
Crazy.
crazy.
What'd this cost?
I don't remember.
Guess. Wild ass guess.
About $100.
Man, when I was trying to find a vajankle, they were like a few $100 and they were impossible to find.
Well, that's why it was easier to get two, so you guys are each going to get one.
Are you going to attach this to your, what's your main battle rifle?
The Tavor.
Are you going to attach this to your Tavor somehow?
It seems a little too flimsy.
Zip ties will hold it.
No, I think it would be better if you made a vajankle pouch, because I'm telling you, if I could whip that ankle at somebody, that would.
On my,
It's cornstarch.
I don't think it's cornstarch.
It's cornstarch. Yeah.
They don't have real cornstarch. They probably use some fake cornstarch from La China. That's awesome. Good job.
Like, I know you guys wanted them.
I
so
think that would really hurt if you got hit in the face with a vajankle.
We had, remember those big breast implants we had? Yeah. They were 650 cc's. And we would have people come in the shop and we would just underhand toss them.
Oh, we need...
And somebody, remember it hit somebody in the stomach and it fucking collapsed them like a sack of potatoes.
We need... we need Dakota. We need
a dildo launcher?
With the dildo launcher. Let's see how far the vajankle will go.
You tear it up.
Can you imagine just like you're getting out of your car in Walmart and a fucking foot hits you?
You would tear it up. So... Dakota, Nick, the new guy, shows up here with like some version of a 203, right? It looks like a 203, but it's a 37 millimeter. Maybe no, it's not 37 millimeter. It launches soda cans.
Soda cans, yeah.
And you just put a shotgun primer, and that's what propels this thing. And standing here in the parking lot, he could launch those soda cans all the way to about where the back fence line is, and he found some dildos that fit in this thing perfectly. And I don't know. He had a case of them. He ordered a box of rubber wieners. They were a little harder than typical. You know, they were you wouldn't, it would fuck you up if you got hit with this thing. And he was launching these rubber wieners. And like 2 years later, when we started bush hogging and cleaning up back there, we found all these rubber wieners laying around out there. And there were still soda cans back there. Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't sniff them out. There was a Pepsi back there that didn't explode when it landed. And when TAC Response was using this range over here, I always wanted to get like a trebuchet or something and just I wanted to have incoming rubber dicks.
That would have been funny.
It'd probably hurt somebody though.
Still been funny.
It would have been funny.
It would have been real funny.
It would have been funny.
Especially if they got like a black eye.
So back to FEMA, like we were saying
FEMA?
earlier,
Yeah.
I wanted to,
FEMA.
Bear goes out and has some interactions with FEMA. And FEMA never shows up. FEMA shows up where the biggest concentration is. FEMA basically shows up where there's going to be news crews. Whereas Bear goes out and finds single women with children, mothers, people who have, you know, been injured. They've, you know, more of the homestead kind of stuff, the people who are not going to be helped, the people that don't have insurance, you know, coverage. So he'll go out there and start, you know, clearing and making it so that they can somewhat kind of live or rebuild these places. And during Kentucky, there were several of these, and they were just people who had, you know, an acre of property, had a tiny house on there, their shed got smashed. FEMA wasn't giving these people shit.
No.
FEMA was going in and being like, hey, we'll cut you a check right now. And they might have even been handing out $100 bills. We'll give you $8,000. You sign this. And basically you walk away from that property. You never come back to this motherfucker. And that's FEMA. The other thing you hear all the time, Team Rubicon, we hire vets and they come out and they help with disaster relief. No, they hire a bunch of illegal aliens. Team Rubicon.
How do you know they're not veteran illegal aliens?
Correct. Right. Right. You know, that's happened. They're hiring illegal aliens now for law enforcement, and they're having to team up with other officers because they cannot have firearms. I just read several things about it.
If you were in a department, I'm guessing this is going to be somewhere in Minnesota, where they hire you, they bring on board some illegal aliens.
You're not allowed to call them illegal aliens anymore.
It doesn't matter. They're illegal aliens. And and they make him your partner. Like, they make him your partner. They're like, here's your new partner, Juan Valdez, and he can't carry a gun. Just leave. Just pack your family up. I know it's scary to think that you're going to leave behind all you've established wherever you're at, but just leave. There are way better places in the United States that are always looking for already trained law enforcement officers. Not only will you probably get a pay bump, but you won't have to deal with the silly shit that you're dealing with right now. Pack up and go. There's no reason for you to have a uniformed officer that doesn't carry a gun, because that uniformed officer is eventually going to put a big target on your back. So leave. So
you said that a few months ago in a podcast.
Yeah.
And it was made into a clip, and you're like, just go sleep under a bridge. Man, they lost their shit over that. You're like, just go fucking sleep under a bridge if you're a cop. Like, boy, they came out in force over that one.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what the context was, so I can't bring it back, but again.
It's like
leave.
You ever see V? The movie V? Was it V where the aliens came down?
Yeah.
And they were supposed to be commingling with humans, and they had those. Those were like police officers. They had an alien police officer, and there was a few other movies like that. But they were eating like canaries and shit. But really, they were abducting and eating human beings. They had the human being machine.
There's no reason to colonize this planet unless you're
going to take it over or steal the resources.
Correct.
So I saw something interesting the other day. Speaking of illegal aliens, we have let more illegal aliens across the border in the last 3 years than 27 of the United States have population. There's more illegal aliens have come across the border.
That's probably true.
Than the lowest populated 27 states.
They doubled so in the last 3 years they doubled what they believed the number of illegal aliens were in here before. So whenever you see the government talking about pathway to citizenship and we should give these hardworking people a pathway to citizenship, the number that they always talk about is like 11 million. So 11 million illegal immigrants that are living and working in the United States right now, or previous to the last 3 years. In the last 3 years, they've doubled it. So we are easily at 22 million illegal immigrants in the United States. And those numbers are conservative. Like those numbers are probably low. So
You know about replacement theory?
yeah.
Think there's anything to that? What replacement theory is that those are our replacements, right? The disgruntled U.S. citizens, when they take us and put us in FEMA camps, those are our replacements. All of your boy girls sitting playing video games and shit who won't work, those are their replacements. That's the replacements. So the elite dilute your heritage, dilute your patriotism, dilute everything that the United States is built upon by bringing in people who are not of your beliefs. And then you become disgruntled, and then they catalog and basically warehouse or eliminate you. And the elite still need people to run what they want run, and this is the labor force.
I think it's the opposite of that.
Okay.
I think it's the opposite of that. I think that they bring in that you look at the masses that are coming in right there. They're mostly undereducated, unskilled labor, right? So your idea would be flipped, meaning I bring in a bunch of people that create an environment for you, create an environment for John Willis where he's like, holy fucking shit, this is out of control. They're fucking burning houses down. They're fucking eating babies. All kinds of crazy shit's going on. I need some safety. And then what happens there is because you are skilled labor, the uber rich are like,
come to our 15-minute city.
Come to our 15-minute city where you will be protected and you'll be fed and you'll be taken care of. So I look at it as the opposite, that I'm not afraid of, these guys coming across the border. I'm really not afraid of them coming across the border because, again, the United States is huge. 22 million people. We literally can absorb 22 million people and you won't notice it unless you live in El Cajon or Minnesota, because the government loves just taking thousands of people and being like, okay, you guys are going to live right here. The country's able to absorb those numbers and us not really even notice it. But yeah, I would say that the opposite would be true, is you're not being replaced. You're being conditioned to move into a place of safety. It's like when you think about old people when they retire. When old people retire, usually they retire to a nice gated community because they're fucking scared that hooligans are going to get them. Same thing. If I create an environment for the average person, right, and say, holy shit, if you live out in the wasteland, you might get eaten. But if you come live in our glorious city and you follow our glorious rules, you're going to prosper and be happy.
Why do they want elderly people to live in their city when they can't produce anything or do anything any longer?
Oh, the issue is not that people can't produce or do anything any longer. With the right environment and the right coaching, people will be able to do anything. It's just we are at the comfortability stage. We have a whole generation of kids who've been spoiled with these things and TV and all that. But everything in the world right now is shrinking, contrary to what people are saying about we're overpopulating the planet and all that shit. That's not true.
No, population's down all around the planet.
We are collapsing inward, and all the things that we take for granted today, or we'll say pre-COVID, all the things that we took for granted pre-COVID, whether that's fucking fast food or Instagram or whatever, all those things that we have taken for granted are slowly going to stop disappearing. They're going to start disappearing because the population is not set up. We're not set up for this loss of population, right? It's, when you think about pre-COVID, you could go into almost any fast food restaurant or you go damn near anywhere and find old people working. COVID killed that. You had this whole hierarchy of senior citizens who were like, I can't be at McDonald's because I'm going to die. because I'm exposed to this virus. And they have not returned. That's why everybody's short-staffed. Everybody's short-staffed because we don't have enough. We have too many kids that feel like they are privileged, and we don't have enough worker bees. So all the things that we take for granted are slowly the supply chain. Everything is going to get smaller and smaller. You're going to see here in the United States a big boom of local industry, where people are going to start making windshield fucking wipers in the United States because we're not going to be able to get them from China anymore. China's collapsing faster than we are. Their economy is, man, if you look at what's going on with their economy, man, they'll be lucky to make it another 10 years. They're fucking collapsing at a fucking rapid rate.
So are they a threat that everybody in the United States wants you to believe they are?
No. There's no, again, the unfortunate or fortunate thing about the United States' economy is we are a war economy. We like war. And anytime we need to prop up the economy, it's always good to start a war. Okay? There are 24 jump carriers in the world. Okay, now a jump carrier is an LHA, right? Small aircraft carrier.
Okay.
There's 24 of them. Well, jets can vertical takeoff jets can come off. There's 24 of them in the world. We own 12. 12 of those 24. The most any other country owns is 2.
Who owns 2?
The British own 2.
So that's the United States, basically.
Kind of, but you know what I'm saying? If we own 12. We own more. We own just as many as the rest of the entire world. There are 12 super carriers. We own them all. The Chinese have 2 jump carriers. 2 jump carriers. One was a casino at one time, and that was copied by the Chinese to make their second one, okay?
So it was a casino, a Chinese casino?
It was a Chinese, well, it was a Russian casino, I think, and then the Russians sold it to the Chinese.
Didn't the Russians put out some crazy carrier a couple of years ago, and it caught fire in the middle of the ocean? We actually went and rescued them?
Yeah. The Chinese have no capability to conduct offensive operations against the world.
So are you aware of all the cyber attacks that have happened over the last 2 weeks, to include yesterday? The big push yesterday for mainstream media was that they tried to take down the Texas power grid. Yeah. They attacked a bunch of municipal water systems so that it would contaminate water in a bunch of major cities. And everything on media this morning and yesterday was that it's a Chinese CPC. What's their party? What's their the Chinese
Communist Party?
CCP.
Yep.
It's a CCP hacker group. That's what everything out there. Last week it was an Iranian hacker group doing the exact same thing. I don't think they know who it is. I would suspect that it's probably. I would be worried that it's somebody within the United States more than somebody outside the United States.
The truth of the matter, when you're talking about cyber attacks, is when they come out and they're like, oh God, somebody tried to fucking hack into the water plant in fucking Waverly, Tennessee and put the wrong chemicals in there. That happens every day, and it's been happening every day since computers were invented. There's been a fucking 12-year-old in his basement going, you know, it'd be really cool.
Dumpster.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if I could turn the lights off in fucking Walmart. Let me hack it. That's always happened. The Russians and Chinese have farms. They have specific farms where that's all those people are trying to do is break into assets within the United States and see what kind of havoc they can create. They're always doing it. Just as there's always a fucking 18-year-old in his basement playing Fortnite and also trying to fucking hack into NORAD's phone lines. The issue is it's China and Russia. There's no reward. There is no reward for being good. There's no reward for performance. There's no such thing as a performance reward. So you do have these people that are trying to hack into whatever thing they're going to hack into, but they don't have the same type of motivation because they just don't have the same type of motivation that we do. So If all the lights went off in the United States and they said it was a hacker, you know, the fucking, it's more likely that it was a fucking 12-year-old in Omaha than the Chinese, because that 12-year-old in Omaha he has more motivation to do it. You know, the power, here's the truth. The power has been going off in China. Not in little bits. The power has fucking been shutting off in China big time. Enough so that we see it from space and are going, what the fuck is going on in China? They're blinking out every fucking half hour and shit. What's going on? Old Pooh Bear, he didn't know what was happening. Pooh Bear did not know that the lights were going off across China, because his entire administration is about fear. And no one wanted to bring him the bad news. No one wanted to tell him, hey man, the fucking power grid is failing here. We need to fix it. Because what happens when that happens? You instantly get killed. The bearer of bad news in China they really kill the messenger. And so how did the president of China find out that the power grid was fucking going down, that it was fluctuating? Joe Biden told him. Fucking Joe Biden's like, hey man, sorry about that power. Is there anything we can do? What? What are you talking about? Power. That's how that whole system is going to fucking completely collapse and implode on itself. And the starvation that they had under Mao it's going to be nothing compared to what happens when the CCP collapses. It's because he kills everyone that brings him bad news. And so nobody brings him the news that he needs to know, right? Like, I am sure that old Pooh Bear is sitting in his fucking office with his little chess piece and shit and his two little jump carriers, and he's like, yeah, I could attack the United States, because everybody's telling him, oh, our shit's way better than the Americans. There's no fucking way that the Americans could keep us from attacking or keep us from out of Taiwan. He's in a box, and he's not getting correct information. It's no different than at the end of the war with Adolf Hitler, when Adolf Hitler was trying to manipulate how the war was being fought. There was a point where the generals who really knew how to fight war and really knew how to save it could not save that war anymore, because Adolf Hitler was moving the chess pieces. So that's the same thing that's going to happen with fucking China. They're a soup sandwich. And when the United States is like, when we are saber rattling and we're like, oh, they're a big threat, and they are not a fucking big threat.
How much landmass China have compared to the
it's huge.
Compared to the United States?
It's huge. They're way bigger.
Way bigger.
But you don't have to invade China. You just have to isolate them. That's the issue. The issue is the only threat China has, the only threat that people keep talking about now is their navy, right? Everybody's like, oh God, they have so many boats and blah blah. Their navy. That's the only thing that
4 of their boats are in my shipping container out here. So like they're counting kayaks and shit.
That's the only real threat, and that threat would be neutralized by the United States Navy, quick, fast, and hurry. Like if Congress is not a bunch of weak bitches, and we were to declare war on China if they attacked Taiwan, the Chinese Navy would be at the bottom of the fucking China Sea quicker than fucking...
So do you not think other big podcasters know that? Like, why do these big podcasters have these guys come on and they're like, the biggest threat to everything in the world is China, and we have to... They have guests on, and they don't call them out on that.
Because it's part of the propaganda stream.
So they are part of the propaganda
They are part of the propaganda stream. Because
do you think they know it?
I mean, I'm I'm sure that some of them know it.
Or is it just that if they call them out, they wouldn't have guests come on anymore?
Maybe. I mean, maybe that's it. You know, there's a point where, you know, everybody doesn't get a $300 million contract with, I don't know who he's part of anymore, but there's a point where it's in your best financial interest to say the party line, right? It's why you can get on the news and see the same story, whether you're in Omaha or whatever, because they're doing the party line. But China is not a threat to the, I mean, okay, let me roll that back. China is a threat to the United States. Like, they are a threat.
How so?
Well, because they have combat power.
Okay.
So they can force project. They are a threat. And if we go to war with China, I don't want to sugarcoat it. You know, Americans are going to get killed. We may lose a carrier group.
But what does us going to China look like? That's China.
But China's
going to
get its fucking ass whipped.
That's China invading Taiwan, or China ends up in San Francisco.
No, China never makes it. China never makes it out of the South China Sea
unless we allow it.
Yeah, we would have to allow it. Like we would have to, like literally, it would have to be like Joe Biden going, "Hey, Pacific Fleet, I need you in San Francisco for the weekend." Like it. Is
that far fetched though?
But in my opinion, this is just my opinion, guys. It's not. Don't put this on the map. My opinion is, even if we were like, all right, Pacific Fleet, I need you all back in Pearl Harbor and San Francisco for refit, and we pulled every ship out of the Pacific. The Japanese would not let the fucking Chinese maneuver in that space. The Japanese want control of that area. They would not let them maneuver in the space. The Japanese would go toe to toe with the Chinese. And even though the Chinese, their long range missile systems and their naval capacity is a little bit bigger than Japanese, I think the Japanese would punch the fuck out of the Chinese. That the Chinese would definitely know that the Japanese were there. So I don't think that the Chinese fleet could ever project within the Pacific theater. Not, I get it. There are fucking Chinese ships that are out there in the Pacific right now, but we're not at war. I mean, the minute we go to war, those ships are going to the fucking bottom of wherever they're at. So, I mean, you go ahead, and if you don't believe me, go ahead and look up the battles that the Chinese Navy is having with the Filipino Navy. The Filipino Navy, I mean, I think they got, some fishing boats and maybe a destroyer from World War II. The Filipinos are fucking up the Chinese.
Are the Filipinos not basically the United States, though?
No. We're not there yet. I mean, we were, but we're not there yet. The Filipinos are actually protecting their territorial waters from Chinese encroachment.
But that's over fishing rights and stuff.
It is over fishing rights, but again, that's why the Chinese made those stupid little islands, because they're trying to assert their dominance in that area of the world, and that area of the world does not like Chinese. So, they would have to go to war with the Philippines, which, sorry, Philippines, I think the Chinese win that one. But the Japanese are not going to let that shit happen.
Have you seen all the video and pictures of all the Chinese guys coming across the Mexican border in the last couple of weeks?
No, but I mean,
crowds of I question what that actually looks like. I mean, you put a bunch of dudes in prison and all the races stick together. So if you put a bunch of dudes on the border, I would assume they kind of people that speak the same languages would all stick together.
Yeah.
So do we have to go and what I'm saying is, do we have to go and find out of 20,000 people, do we pull the 10 Chinese dudes for the video shot and the picture? Glover says that he was down there and fucking it's easy to see. You can see just the masses of Africans and Chinese and, coming across the border. They're coming in through, I don't know, they came in through Central America somewhere and, made the trek up. I guess the question, those motherfuckers didn't walk from there. Who's bussing them, right? Who's
well, they're working, they're actually working deals with the cartel.
The cartel is advertising on TikTok on how to do it. Show up here.
They're working deals on with the cartel where container ships are going into Guatemala and places like that, and then those guys are walking off those ships and they are walking up through because they have to. There's a certain way these things have to happen in order to get to the United States. So they are walking up through Central America, most of them. And I don't fear any Chinese guys coming across the border. I don't fear any, people from Paraguay coming across the border. The majority of those people are coming here because they want a better life for themselves and their families. And even if the Chinese send 1,000 Chinese terrorists, they're like, all right, you got to blow up you get to blow up a power station. Everybody gets to blow up a power station.
Power station for you.
For you. Even if the Chinese did that, you're going to have a percentage of those guys who are going to get here and be like, you mean I can just walk in there and get a cheeseburger? Like right now, a cheeseburger. And they're just not going to, you're going to have a percentage that aren't going to do it. You're going to have a percentage that's going to get caught because long-term espionage within the United States, we tend to catch. Long-term espionage we tend to catch. And having, 9 guys in a fucking motel in Omaha, 9 Chinese guys in a motel in Omaha who are buying guns and fucking fertilizer, and the FBI is going to catch them long-term. So even if, and even let's say, I don't know, let's say 25 of them actually blow up power stations, we're going to be like, huh, well, sucks for LA. They don't have no power for the weekend.
But they don't need explosives to blow up power stations.
No, I mean
it's so much simpler. They don't, but if you want, again, you can do 2 things. You can destroy infrastructure, or you can intermediately destroy infrastructure. So when you say you don't need explosives to destroy a power station, yes, true, you can shoot things and there are other things that you can do, but that's a hiccup. That's really a hiccup. Think about the last couple of ones. The dude who drove his car into the fucking solar place, the guys up north who were shooting the power grid. Those are hiccups. Those are fixed within the week. So you really didn't do anything. Like, you really did nothing. So you have to really, really lay waste to that infrastructure in order to make it non-viable, right? In order for it to have an impact, right? In order for it to have an impact, that power needs to be off for a month. And outside of mass targeting, so meaning outside of mass targeting, let's talk about those 1,000 guys and them hitting specific power installations where they actually do serious damage. Even a power facility in California, you literally blow that off the map. Within a week, that power is getting restored. So the idea of how you're going to be able to do this on a scale large enough to affect the United States, man, they don't have the capability. They just don't have the capability. That is the reason why they're doing the bleep bloops and the blop blops. Everything's through controls now.
That's why they're doing
nothing's a valve.
That's why they're doing bleep blops and bloop bloops, because if you could interrupt all the water systems, like if you could figure out how to get into all the water systems and you could shut all the water systems down for like a week, right? That would cause some serious fucking problems. You couldn't do that with troops on the ground.
Well, it's about causing turmoil in the society,
yes.
Right? It's to the civilians.
Yes.
That's what it's about. It's not about the rest of it. We have a friend sent me some screenshots yesterday from the municipal school district, put out messaging to all of the parents that there were bomb threats on elementary schools and high schools all across the United States. And I said, this is weird. I go, I haven't seen this on the radar at all this morning. And he sent me 5 screenshots showing what the school district sent out to the parents. And I said, this says all around the United States, but there's no reporting anywhere on this. I go, it's just weird that they're reporting this and there's nothing public facing about this.
Because you don't want to create a panic, right? So there are bomb threats. The truth is there are bomb threats.
Well, it used to be that you didn't want to go to school. You fucking called in a bomb threat. Like, I joke about it.
Yeah. So there are bomb threats every day.
You can't come to my event. Do you need me to get you out of work?
And from a national perspective, if the United States was to come out and be like, motherfuckers, we're code red, somebody's going to blow up a school tomorrow. No kids would go to school.
As they should not.
No kids. Well, the issue becomes
babysitting.
The issue becomes the financial burden, right? So no kids are going to go to school, and because no kids are going to go to school, no parents are going to go to work, and so you create this calamity and collapse that happens immediately. It's kind of like, and did you ever see Invasion USA?
Yeah, what was
Chuck
that?
Norris?
Yeah,
Chuck Norris. Where
didn't they bury him?
They bring all that. No, that was that's Lone Wolf Quaid. But Invasion USA, the premise is
that the one where he had the motorcycle with the rockets?
No, that was Delta Force.
Damn, isn't he? He's 91.
Yep.
81.
Maybe. Invasion USA is where he's got the two micro Galils that he shoots from the hip, or I guess from the chest. But that's the premise of that movie, is they bring all these foreign fighters into the United States, and what they do is they dress up like cops, and they go into they dress up like cops, and they go into Hispanic neighborhoods, and they shoot up Hispanic parties, right? So when the real cops come, the Hispanics are attacking the real cops. They go to suburbia white America and blow up a bunch of houses with missiles to create this unrest and discontent. That's more powerful than anything else.
Same thing happened, enemies foreign and domestic. Yeah. Rogue ATF unit, or a group of ATF guys that were working for some other entity, was going around, and they would find legal machine gun holders, raid them in the middle of the night, burn their house, kill them, take the guns, burn the house down. Now they have the guns, registered, machine guns, and then they would go and shoot up mosques, and they would go and shoot up synagogues. And then they would leave propaganda, opposing propaganda to cause turmoil. Right. Meanwhile, they're doing some other things. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. They are all interesting ideas. It's just that I don't think people understand the scope and size of America.
The beauty of this, for you,
is I live in Waverly, Tennessee.
You could 100% go off the grid. Like hold on. Let me pee, and I'm going to come back. We're going to talk about this. All right, we're back.
We're back.
So
off grid. The
beauty of that, off grid. Like, so if the power went out, you could easily set up in the next, 72 hours. It might not be the most comfortable, but you could set your plate. I'm sure you are set up to where if the power went out, we would lose conveniences, but the way of life would change. Like, so if the power goes out for 3 days, okay, we keep flipping a switch and seeing, just out of habit, we turn this thing on and we're like, man, I wish I had some hot water that came out of the faucet or whatever. But if the power's out, shit changes drastically, right? The tax man's not coming, fucking, it's a whole different operating system. We're not spending 40 hours a week doing this. That's 40 hours a week you can row and hoe and patrol and shit.
I have 2.5 weeks of power at the house.
How so?
The generator.
Okay.
2.5 weeks of power.
Propane?
Yep. And it's propane, and then I have another tank behind so I could probably go 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. With 4 weeks just living normal.
Yep.
Right?
And not even know the power was off.
Not even know the power's off. So I'm good in that perspective, but after that, then rowing and hoeing.
But if we did know, right, we would not live in the manner that we live, right? We would move into the tiny house, or you'd move into one of the fucking travel trailers.
Things are less important.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Things are less important.
One of the girls that works for me had said, hey, I have this, because she heard us talking about the Barack Obama movie, and the power goes out. And she's like, man, I'm glad I have my inverter. And I said, what do you have? What do you mean? And she says, well, I have this 1,000-watt inverter. And I go, she goes, yeah, it was like $1,000. I go, that's expensive for an inverter. I go, send me a picture, because I figure she has like a solar generator, right? Which is code for fancy battery pack. So she sends me a picture, and she does in fact have a giant fucking inverter. And I go, that's cool. She goes, I need to get some batteries. And I go, that's even cooler. She knows that she needs batteries to run this thing with, right? It turns 12 volt into 110 so that we can run other stuff. And so she came in this morning, and I said, what is your intention for this? What do you hope to maintain? She goes, well, I want to be able to run my satellite stuff. I want to be able to run my satellite, and I want to be able to run my refrigerators and my well pump. And I go, okay, we have some issues here. She goes, I need to get some batteries. I go, okay, you have a battery and a charger sitting in your driveway. You can take this battery out of the car, and you can run it to turn it into 110 electricity for whatever you need to do. And then you can put it back in the car, run the car, and charge that battery back up. So we can do that. I go, how long are we planning for the power to be out? Like, what are we really talking about? And we were talking about the power goes out. I go, okay, have you ever seen the power go out? No. How long has the power ever been out? 2 days. Okay, so let's focus on 2 days.
2 days, yeah.
Right? Let's focus on 2 days. We're not going to fuck with the refrigerator or the freezer. We're just not going to open it, right? If you need something, go in there, know where your shit's at. Now would be a good time to organize your refrigerator, freezer, get rid of some stuff. If your freezer is packed all the way full, it's not working to its full efficiency, remove, 10, 20% of that stuff. Get the old shit that you're never going to eat anyways out of there, replace it with bottles of water that are frozen. That's a thermal sink. And I said, how do you cook in your house? And she said, it's electric. I go, well, that's a problem. Anything that produces heat from electricity takes tons of power. So let's remove that. You're not going to use that. We don't have to replace it. I go, you have a barbecue grill, right? She's like, no. I go, first thing you do is go get a barbecue grill. You're going to love having it. You're going to use it. And the cheapest fuel you're going to have for that thing is those propane tanks on the barbecue grills. I go, how's your heat come through your house? She's like, I have a kerosene heater. I'm like, awesome. Add a small propane heater because it's the most convenient to use. It's also the most expensive fuel, but you can run off those 1 pounds, or we can run a hose from the barbecue tanks. Right. And heat off of that for the 1 day, 2 day thing. That's plenty. Kerosene stores almost indefinitely. If you store it, it's not hard to store. But it's heavier, it's bulkier, right? And then your fuel tanks, and then, she's like, but what about my well pump? And I go, I don't know, we'll have to test it. I don't know what your well pump looks like, but your problem with the well pump is you don't have a holding tank. It just creates pressure. I go, so let's run that pressure into a holding tank, or we can inline something, or we can just have some bulk storage, because water is for the most part free when it comes out of the tap. So let's fill up let's start with 5 gallon or 7 gallon cans or cubes, fill up a bunch of those, and then get some, 55 gallon or IBC totes and fill those up. And I said, the reason we're doing this is because you can't move a 55 gallon drum of liquid, right? 5 gallons is a pain in the ass, even moving it upstairs, but we can still flush toilets and such because you're on septic. So it was a great conversation to have with somebody who seemingly has no interest in any of this stuff. Like people, they're cognizant of it. And I think that a lot of people are more cognizant of it after the last couple of years, but especially with the cost of, groceries and everything going up right now, and just everything. Everything is like the roads are not being repaired as much. Everything, it's visible if you just fucking look for it and you don't keep your blinders on. And I think a lot of times we're like, I don't care what they're doing. It doesn't affect me. I'm right here on my compound and nothing's changed, until you look over the fucking hill or you look past the tree line and you realize that it's encroached right up to you, and the fucking homeless camp or the fucking city or the trailer park is now right there because we didn't bother to look.
The more people in your community that you can outreach to and get to do little things, even if it's just have a week's worth of food in your house. The more people you can convince that is necessary is going to be the less people you have to worry about when it really does happen. So if the power, we had, was it last year or the year before, some pretty good storms or some pretty good line wind come through Waverly. I had power out for 14 days.
Is that why you got the generator?
That's why we got the generator. And now, like when the power goes out, I don't even know the power's out.
How did you choose the Generac? What made you pick that one? Because
of the service contract with it. They do everything.
But what were you just driving past? You saw a Generac store? Or?
No, there's our local electrician started. He just does Generac shit now, and he did. And when they should I said that out loud?
Beep that out. You can leave all that in. Just bleep the name.
When I saw them set that up and how it worked, and then listening to them talk about, they changed the oil, it fires up once a week. It'll fire up and do a run test. They monitor all of them so they know if your thing is not working right or whatever. That alone was like, fuck yes. If I don't have to fuck with it, that is why I'm doing it. And I don't think there's any other company out here that is doing it.
What's your propane tank?
I'm a 300 gallon.
AmeriGas?
Yeah, it's AmeriGas.
So do they monitor your shit also?
They do not monitor. My stuff is not hooked up to monitoring. And I don't know if AmeriGas here the AmeriGas company, they're out of Dixon. No, they're not out of Dixon. They're in Aaron. I don't know if they monitor anybody's. Because every now and then they'll just show up, right? They'll show up and check. They'll go to check the tank. And I talked to the guy about it, and he's like, he goes, when we get a certain amount of calls, there's like a certain amount of calls to refill tanks. He goes, once we get a certain amount of calls, we just go fill everybody's. So I definitely don't have anything hooked up to mine for monitoring, but they are always. Everybody must have like 300-gallon tanks around where I live, because if I even look at it and think, fuck, I need some propane, they show up. So
I went to order fuel, bulk fuel, and I text the message, the guy I always text. I'm like, hey, this is John over at SOE. I need this much diesel. I need this much unleaded fuel or non-ethanol fuel. And he's like, hey, I need you to call this number and put in a credit application. I'm like, I don't need to put in a credit application. I pay you guys. I'll pay you cash, or I'll pay you a check right when it's delivered, whatever we need to do. And he's like, I still need you to do this. And I went back and forth with this motherfucker that I emailed, who he asked me to email, and they would not do this without fucking running a credit check. I'm like, I've bought fuel from you guys for 7 years now. I do not need a credit check. I don't need a fucking application for credit. I'm going to pay you in cash at time of delivery. I'll even prepay it before you deliver it. And they would not do it without a fucking linking it to credit.
Yeah.
I think it's just more oversight.
Oversight, or it's just...
I think it's oversight.
Oversight, or it's just pain in the ass.
I think it's more of the continuity of government shit at local levels, so that they can pass it down. FEMA can come in and go, hey, we have this thing has happened here. We know there's this much fuel
in the area.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's what it's about.
Maybe.
So I'll just fill my fucking
5-gallon jugs.
Yep, with 5. Yep. You've seen us roll in. I mean, we've rolled in with fucking...
I do the same thing.
55-gallon gas cans, and everybody's like, what's going on that we don't know about? I don't know. I just run equipment, man.
Yeah. I do the same thing.
There's always those people. What the hell's going on? You want to really raise some eyebrows? Go fill a bunch of gas cans.
Yeah. Or kerosene cans.
Yep.
Especially this time of year, because they're going to be like...
Same thing.
Snow.
I went over... There's nothing here in town, or at least last year, there was nothing in town here selling kerosene. So I go to Paris to get kerosene, and I've got fucking 20 cans with me probably, and I've got the GoPro set up, and dude comes up, he's like, John Willis, what's up, man? I watch all... You can't get away from motherfuckers. They just... Fine. Everywhere you go.
That's good.
People know.
That's good.
But the kerosene's... The propane's the most convenient. Kerosene's second most. Yeah. You know, wood is always convenient, but fuck, I was splitting wood Sunday morning. I think I was out there fucking busting wood up with the splitter. I still don't own anything that burns wood. I mean, I've got fire pits and shit, right. But I don't have a furnace. I don't have a wood burning stove. I don't even have a small box firebox.
Yeah, I really want a wood burning stove, but then I got to chop up a bunch of wood.
Nah, you can just have a guy deliver it, man.
Yeah, I'm not big baller like you.
You have forks? You got forks on your tractor? Yeah,
I have forks for it.
We can just load IBC tote in your truck and you can take it home.
Yeah, well,
you're a big boy now. You got a truck.
Yeah, I do have a truck.
He had way bigger trucks than this.
But the Dodge.
When are you gonna put a utility bed on that Nissan?
Oh, never.
It's so much more convenient.
It might be more convenient, but again, you like the lift kit and all the stuff that's on it.
I know.
I don't do. It's not. I'm not going to, I think I've only done it once where I've taken my truck somewhere and been like, put a lift kit on that. However the vehicle is, that's how the vehicle is. I mean, you think about that 2000 Ford I have, it's still, there's nothing not stock on it.
Yeah. Well, we've had trucks with huge tires on them. My big truck right now only has 37s on it. And even that, I'm like, you feel that motherfucker when you get up and in and out of there. Yeah. You're cognizant if this could go bad if I fucking step down wrong, especially if it's wet or off camber or something.
Yep. I like the Nissan though, I like the Titan. So far it's been perfect.
Cool.
And every time I look at it, I'm like, man, it's a lot bigger than I thought.
It is big. When you drove up, I had no idea. Number one, I didn't know it was you. And number two, I did not think that was a Nissan truck.
The crazy thing is, and I was telling Joe about this. He's like, did you pick that color? And I'm like, bro. And when I would go to the Nissan lot and I would look at the Titans, I would be like, man, this really just looks like an old man's truck, right? It looks like there's nothing special about it. It doesn't look good. And when I saw that, I'm like, holy shit, that is exactly how I want it to look. I got to get it. It doesn't matter. You know, it could have been orange because it already had all the shit on it. Because I'm not the guy that takes. I'm not going to Off-Road Warehouse and.
It's good because there's not one here.
Spending $9,000 for them to throw a lift kit on there. I want it already on the truck.
You know what Plasti Dip is?
Yes.
You know you can paint anything with Plasti Dip,
Right,
and you can pull it off.
Can you pull it off?
Uh-huh.
Huh.
Yeah, a lot of dudes
Well,
do.
you want me to Plasti Dip the Nissan?
You totally could probably camo it out in Plasti Dip and then just fucking kind of roll it off of there for a temporary.
Yeah. I think when I paint the Nissan, it's going to be white. It'll be white splotches all over it for the winter war.
Why don't you paint it like a cow and then you could just set it out in the field and
That will work too.
air will never bomb it.
Never bomb it. They'll be
cow.
like, that's a big ass fucking cow out there. Yeah, for the winter war. We're not going to fight a winter war. It's going to be a fall war.
Well, I heard this morning that the temperature's up all around the world 9 degrees. We're actually in global warming. I think that's bullshit.
Do I think it's bullshit?
No, I think it's bullshit.
Well, of course it's bullshit. 9 degrees.
Yeah,
that's bullshit.
Maybe it was in the polar ice caps. It's 9 degrees warmer in the polar ice caps. I also heard that Russia's pulling all their assets back to Antarctica.
Why would they do that?
I don't know why.
Well, we can find out because I am going to go to the Arctic Circle with the
Tundra.
With the Tundra and the.
You can have them pull it in with a. You can have them pull it in with several teams of sled dogs
and the dog kennel.
You totally should do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Good.
You got to go in the right time though. You can't go in the summer because of the fucking bugs. And you obviously can't go in the winter because it's a fucking giant aluminum can.
Have you been reading?
So it's going to be a small window of when I can get in
your comments.
No.
Somebody had something. I can't. It's not in my head right now what it was, but somebody had a pretty viable way to insulate that thing. I don't remember what they said. But I remember I remember not thinking there's no way that'll work. So it's
the pullout. I can insulate. I've already started insulating. I got 10 mil of insulation in the pullout. The problem is the other piece. So when you slide it in, because it's not on tracks, it goes like this, and you'll just end up ripping all your insulation out. But come Tuesday, I might have a fix for that. So,
what if we just took foam, and sewed it inside Cordura, and then once the pullout's out, you just pop this thing in place?
That would work too, but it becomes an issue of space.
No, I get it.
Because those once I pull the mattress out of the backside and to slide it in, even that, because it's bigger, even that's taking up space. So how much room do I have to pack other shit in there?
Have you seen the new deck? You know what the decked systems are? Those 2 drawers?
Yeah.
The decked ones, though, not like the truck vault ones and stuff. Right. So they have a new version out, the Dash 2. So it's supposed to be pretty badass. It actually gives you, I think it gives you like 12 more inches in the drawer. And now the drawers pull another 12 inches out so you can access stuff all the way, access stuff.
That's cool.
You lose, I want to say it's 9 inches or 11 inches. They have, I think there's 2 heights to it. But you still have, like, how often do you put stuff in your bed that can't be 9 inches taller,
right?
And then you have that stuff. I think it's pretty weatherproof. I think they're very dry. I still don't have one in my truck.
No, I want to get one.
Yeah. I like them. Decked, you should hook us up.
Yeah, you should. Or just sponsor the channel.
No, just hook us up. All we want is affiliate, just affiliate links.
Well, you already know what kind of truck I have.
2 decks.
You already know what kind of truck I have. You're going to have to get, so for the Titan, I need the big one, right? John needs a small one for the Tundra because it's a little smaller.
Shit.
So,
how long is your bed?
I don't know.
I'll bet it's longer than mine is.
I don't know what it is. I don't. You want to know how much my AK-47 weighs? I got you. You want to know? You want to know anything about my truck other than it starts up, it drives real smooth? I don't know. I know there's a V8 engine in there. I can't tell you anything else.
I'm going to buy a longer tailgate for my truck.
A longer one?
Mm-hmm.
Why? So it's taller, or
No, so when I fold it down, I have more than 6.5 feet of fucking bed space.
There you go. Good. That's the way to do it.
They'll be like, why the fuck's he got that stupid attachment on his tailgate? It's got to be bad for gas mileage.
You should have it so it folds down.
They make have you seen the tailgates that fold down and then they got the ladder that comes out
Yeah.
and shit? It's like a fucking Swiss Army tailgate knife.
Yep. And what does that mean? That means
More moving broken parts.
no. It means when somebody steals your tailgate, it's going to be fucking outrageous.
Yeah, they were stealing. Wasn't it the Raptor?
Yeah,
tailgates?
Raptor tailgates.
They're like $4,000
And
or
they were
something.
just crazy
because
expensive.
they're aluminum.
Yep. Crazy expensive.
Are you getting a Tesla truck?
No, I'm not getting a Tesla truck. We don't see Tesla trucks.
What do you mean?
This country doesn't see Tesla trucks.
They're actually starting to produce.
Yeah, no,
them.
I know.
coming
They're
out.
gonna start.
I don't want one.
They're gonna start pumping them out. But what I'm saying on a scale necessary to supply Americans with an alternative truck, we don't see that. We'll be at war before then.
Did you see over in Europe? They just in the UK, they just announced. I was watching a video of a dude. He's like, I got bad news. He's somebody from Parliament that was against this. Said they have passed and are rolling out the digital IDs. And they said that, well, since we've got digital ID, we need to link it to something. So we're linking it to the Euro CBDC. And he said that's fucking absolutely terrible. They said they would never do that. Those two would never go together. And here it is. So if Europe's doing it, Australia will do it next, Canada, and then, it'll be here. It's the same system. It's the same puppet masters.
Yeah, but I think those political systems collapse before. I mean, we're due. The world is due for a shakeup, a change of the guard. And the good news about shitty shit starting in Europe and working its way around the world is, the French, they love revolution every now and then. So if I was a French politician, I'd be a little nervous right now.
Do you think that's why all those 18,000 guillotines that Obama bought? Do you think that's why when you look it up now, they say that it's all conspiracy and it never happened? Do you think that's because they're worried about their heads rolling? We might get a hold of some of those 18,000.
Americans are more violent. And we would, I don't think we would line them up and guillotine them. We're a fan of the gun. I would be more worried about the firing squad than the guillotine.
Did you see the big?
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? I mean, think about what you just said. 18,000 guillotines. Now, I'm sure Brandel can look this up. There can't be many places in the world where you can buy a legit guillotine.
No, you make them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There can't be many, but even still, there can't be many manufacturers that make legit guillotines, right? There can't be many.
These were supposed to all be stainless steel, 100%.
That's what I'm saying.
metal, yeah.
There can't be many. So imagine you are at noveltyguillotine.com and you make life-size, authentic guillotines for, I don't know, the circus or whatever. Imagine you're there and you probably get, what do you get? 20 orders a year? 10 orders a year? What kind of order? How many guillotines is that factory actually pumping out a year, right? And then all of a sudden you get a government contract for 18,000 guillotines. How long did it take them to make those?
I would suspect that the guillotine novelty builder didn't build them. I would suspect they tasked, some think tank, Bell Laboratories or some bullshit, and fucking Teledyne Ryan built them or something.
I mean, if Teledyne Ryan built them, it'd be like a laser beam or something that cuts your head off, or it wouldn't be a traditional guillotine, right? It wouldn't be a traditional blade falling from the head in the basket type of deal.
Did you see Elon Musk's new robot?
No.
It's got a Dash 2. Seems like it's a little bit behind, I don't remember what the main big robot that everybody's got out there. But he's linking it with the self-driving system. So it'll be autonomous and have all the Tesla shit built into it.
Right.
That's what they're saying.
I mean, we're pretty close to being wiped out by something, whether it's a Tesla robot or a fanatical Brandel.
Did you see Alex Jones is back on?
Yeah,
X?
back on X. Good for him.
Yep.
Good for him.
Yep. You got a bunch of liberals all
Fuck 'em.
squealing and
all of 'em.
autistic squealing. I'm leaving X. I'm leaving X.
Good.
The crazy shit was I didn't recognize any of the ones that said they were leaving X.
But again, that is what this country is about: freedom. And you know what? You know what you can do? 100%. What you can do?
Leave the United States.
No. What you can 100% do is not listen to Alex Jones. I don't outside of maybe 25 random, Alex Jones he's been in that sphere for 30 years, 40 years. Outside of some random, just
a few pieces.
Random pieces. I have never sat and watched an Alex Jones episode. Not that I don't like, not that I'm anti Alex Jones. It's just I don't care about gay frogs.
I thought you were going to say, except for a few random little events, he's been right about everything.
Well, he has been right about a lot of stuff. I mean, he was right about the gay frogs. But what I'm saying is, if you're on X and you're like, I have to leave X because Alex Jones is on there, you're a fucking puss anyways. Fuck you.
So that's
go kill yourself, really, because you don't have to listen to Alex Jones, just like you don't have to listen to this. You can go listen to, I don't know, ass to mouth wrapping paper, whatever you want to do. You don't have to listen to any of the shit.
The deal was they couldn't control it, right? So they would throttle the algorithm back on what Alex Jones was saying so that you wouldn't see it. But what would happen is somebody like me would see it, and I'd send it to 10 friends, and we would all post it back up, right? That's how Tate's shit all went viral. When they banned Tate, it was real.
You would almost think that the tech guys, like when you think about, Tate exploding or Alex Jones exploding, you would almost think that the tech guys did that on purpose, because there is nothing that makes something more popular than an official banning.
Yep.
Like if you ban something officially, then everybody wants to know why you're banning it.
Well,
they want to see that car accident.
Right. They couldn't control him, so they removed him 100%. And an interesting thing, like I don't think a lot of people are aware, right? You hear Alex Jones, they said he has to pay out $4 billion or whatever.
Something crazy.
You know, that never went to trial. That was never before a jury.
Well, I don't
he just assigned that. He never even got to fucking dispute it.
I don't know that.
He was just speaking about it. He was on a live with Vivek was on there. Alex Jones was on there. Who else was on that live? Do you remember? It just happened. Tate was on there, and somebody else. I think Posobiec was on there. Like 4 or 5 dudes were on there. I think Elon Musk was on there, and he was telling his side of the story. He's like, I never got to dispute any of this. They just said, you owe this.
Yeah, I don't know. The question is, can he afford it?
So you have the opposite side, right? You had the White House controlling a lot of stuff, government controlling a lot of stuff. So they would ban those guys and then pump the algorithm for the other side. So when the other side crosses deck, they're like, I can't get any traction. I can't get any feed. That's because your shit was manipulated. You didn't actually have 20,000 people thumbs up in that. It's the same reason they removed the dislike during all the COVID and the White House shit, right? They removed the dislike button. You can no longer see how many people dislike on YouTube. You can only see the likes, right? Because what was happening when the White House would go live, you'd immediately have 2 million thumbs down. And now we find out that the White House actually was controlling all of that shit. So those were all real motherfuckers that were like, fuck you guys. And that's that whole thing, man. They can't control that. So they...
Speaking of the White House, and just because you were talking about this earlier and I didn't get to say this, you should know this. People, you guys should know this. You should know this, but we don't know what we don't know. It just came out. There's a hearing going on right now about social media and what the government is watching. And there's a little trick, guys. There's a little trick that the government's using right now that you're probably not aware of. When you store your stuff on the cloud, you're giving that information to the entity that is running the cloud. The FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the whoever, they don't need a warrant to search the cloud. They just need provider permission. And so there has been mass government agencies that have been searching the cloud because they don't need your permission. So all that stuff that you're storing on the cloud is being accessed by the NSA and all that shit.
I think you should be aware, too, that every keystroke you made is stored someplace, whether you give permission to the cloud or not. That shit's there. Every single thing that goes across one of these boxes, even if you didn't type it in, it's just sitting here listening to me right now.
To a certain extent.
It just depends on which agency and how much.
To a certain extent. But
how much search warrant they need.
Yeah, they still need a search warrant when it's you personal. But when it's a corporate entity, they don't. They just need corporate permission. That's kind of like when AT&T was giving the FBI
Verizon
phone
was
records,
too.
all that shit.
Yeah.
Because it was, they considered that their property. So, you know, if you're storing all your dick pics on the cloud, there's an NSA agent, female, who's stealing them and taking them home.
Or nowadays a dude. There was a dude showed on live last night and said, hey, Tractor Supply has these safes. They've got, I think he said 128 safe, gun safe. Fucking, I don't, it was a big gun safe, right? And they got it on marked down to $1,200, and he's like, I want to get one of these, but with everything, it's a Liberty safe, and with them turning information over to the FBI. And I go, look, man, what are you trying to protect from, right?
Right.
Those safes are just to keep crackhead Bob while you're in Nashville posting videos. Hey, I'm in Nashville right now. Nobody's at my house. It's to keep the meth head from busting into your shit. If the feds come in, they're going to open your safe. Like, they can open that motherfucker with a hooligan tool. They can open it with a Broco torch.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell you, you better open this or we're going to get a warrant for this safe. Let them get a fucking warrant. They're going to open the motherfucker anyways. Don't help them incriminate you. But just be aware of that, right? That safe, there's always a dude that can open it. And most of them you can cut from the back. Like, most of your safes, especially your more expensive safes, they have different kinds of metals in there so that when you're torching it, it dissipates heat to the inner one so that the torch doesn't work properly. There's a lot of stuff around safes. And I'm not a safe guy. I don't know anything about them. I'm repeating shit I have seen on videos when all this Liberty shit happened. Yeah,
the other thing, too, is that's people keep calling it a backdoor. It's not really a backdoor on the Liberty safes. It's a method for you to be able to,
if you die, your wife can get in your shit.
To access your safe through Liberty. They can be like, oh, okay, try this code. It's in the instructions that you never read. It's in the instructions, and it's also in the instructions on how to get rid of that code. So you can actually kill that code if you want. But because you didn't read the instructions, you think that the code that you put in there is the only code. Most of those electronic locks will take 6 to 9 separate codes. So, like, you could have a wife code, a husband code, which doesn't make any sense because when you open it up, it's all the same. But you can do codes for all of it. So just look at your instructions, and it will tell you on there how to fucking delete that code.
You can also take a control box, and plug a different one in there. You could also take one from another brand and interchange them. Most of them are the same, similar sizes. And you could just take yours and smash it with a hammer if you wanted to. It's not a one master code across all of them, from my understanding.
Yeah, it's not. It's each safe will have a different code. They just look up your serial number and shit. Anyways,
there you go. All right, you ready to do some Patreon questions?
I heard we have a lot.
We have a lot. Guys, if you're not on our Patreon, join Patreon, the SOE Patreon page. Jeff has a Patreon page of his also own, Dog Kennel and Little Spoon. Make sure you check out his Instagram, his YouTube, his TikTok. He's TikToking a lot. You do a lot of fucking TikTok dancing.
Do I?
And all of his Dog Kennel Little Spoon social medias. You can interact and converse there. Leave some traffic over on all of those. EMP Shield. We talked a lot about grid down stuff. If you want to protect your stuff, EMPshield.com. Use code SOE. It'll get you $50 off your order. It's not going to protect you from the grid going down. It's going to protect your shit from getting fried so that when the grid goes down, you can still use a generator or your stuff works after the fact. I've never seen an EMP happen in my life. With that said, EMP Shield offers $25,000 per circuit that thing's on. So if you get a lightning strike and it fries out your Skittle maker or whatever, they're going to write you a check up to
to
25 grand for
fix
that.
that skittle maker.
So check that out on all your trucks, your vehicles, everything. You can put EMP Shield on that. Anything else you want to thank some of your sponsors? Victos. Victos has been doing you pretty right, it seems.
Yeah, they keep giving me these multicam black pants.
Check out Victos.
Yeah, check out Victos. It's really good clothes. I'm happy with all of it. I love the shoes, the pants. I mean, t-shirts are t-shirts, but still, they got some pretty good artwork.
Have you tried Katanica?
I have tried Katana. They're too heavy and scratchy.
Their pants?
Their pants.
You have their pants?
Yeah, I used to work here. You remember?
I love the Katanica stuff, man.
No, Katanica's good.
Like
Katanica's
Amanda
good.
bought me one of their Anoraks or Tamarack, I don't know, one of their jacket hoodie things. And when I saw the price, I'm like, holy shit, I probably would not have bought it. Dude, it's the fucking best jacket I've got. Love that fucking thing. It's
Good.
awesome. So check out Victos, check out Katanica. Katanica's the premier right there. When we're into society, Katanica's what you're going to want.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Victos. I think I'll be wearing your shit.
I think Victos is for the guys that, like, you see them at the Strider booth. Like, you got the dudes with Katanica, and then you got the guys that went with the other guy.
No, man.
Isn't Victos's marketing, we're just as good as Katanica?
It might be.
Isn't that their marketing?
It might be.
When somebody's marketing is we're just as good as, you never are.
No, that's not true. Sometimes you're better.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for participating. This has been episode what?
56. Rolling them out, boy. We are rolling them out. Episode 56, guys. Make sure you catch all the other ones, too.
Heading over to Patreon.